Well, we have been distributor of Wi-Fi solutions for almost 7 years in Mexico and Latam. Our portfolio includes network infrastructure, devices, planning, designing tools, and also monitoring and troubleshooting. One of the preferred customers' tools to go in depth in troubleshooting is Metageek. Today, we have a special guest with us, Joel Crane, who is the Enterprise Product Manager in Metageek. Hi, Joel. Thanks for accepting the invitation. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jesus?
Fine, thanks, and excellent to be in company with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored to be here and to get to hang out with you for a bit.
Yes, and I hope this is not the first time. Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, hopefully many more times after this. So
yes, of course. Okay, Joel, tell us, how did you get involved in this Wi-Fi world?
That's a great question, and it involves Metageek very, very closely. So prior to Metageek, I thought Wi-Fi was interesting, and I enjoyed Wi-Fi, but I didn't know anything about it. Like, for example, adjacent channel interference. I had no idea that was a thing, and I also didn't understand signal strength, anything like that. So I was working a tech support job here where I live in Idaho in the USA. And I saw a job posting for Metageek, and I had actually used Insider before, and I didn't know that they were here in the same city that I lived in. And so I applied for the job, and I ended up getting it. So I started out doing just technical support at Metageek, and that gradually turned into a technical training job. And soon I was leading a small tech support team. Soon I was a sales engineer. And it just kind of grew from there until, now I'm into Wi-Fi. So thanks to Metageek for that great opportunity.
Yes, and this is a big world and very, very interesting topic. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we have a new way of living with this pandemic situation. How do you think this situation changed the perspective for using tools like yours or other for troubleshooting networks?
That's a really good question, and something that we spent a lot of time thinking about. As you probably know, I was away from Metageek for a few years. So I was at Metageek, and then I left and went and worked for some other Wi-Fi companies, and ultimately came back to Metageek a little over a year and a half ago. And while I was away, Ryan, the founder of Metageek, started thinking about that was, height of pandemic and COVID situation and all that. And he started thinking about that. He started thinking about how is Wi-Fi changing, and how is the market changing to support users that are working from home. So he started working on a tool that did remote monitoring for employees that were working from home. Now, as for like how COVID changes the Wi-Fi situation, well, I mean, at Metageek, it changed everything. The whole company started working from home immediately. I know lots of people did that. I was already working from home because I was working for different companies. But when I came back to Metageek, Ryan had already taken a good hard look at it and started working on a new tool. And so we ended up building a remote monitoring tool called Signify, which you could basically, as a network administrator, run it on your remote worker machines, and it would report back information about their home network and how their home network performance was. So we saw a huge shift in, all of a sudden, the need for like a desktop application like Channelizer or IPA or some kind of on-site packet capture tool. For a while, I don't think you hardly needed it at all because everyone was working from home. And so that's part of why we introduced Signify. Now, as the pandemic feels like it's kind of winding down, and I know that's kind of debatable, it's not really done yet, but in some ways it is, in some ways it's not. That's a very complex thing. We're seeing people kind of returning to the workplace, returning to the office. And so, yes, things have changed, but at the same time, I think that we are starting to see people need desktop tools again, something they can run on their laptop and run around, in an office or in a warehouse or something like that. We're kind of seeing the return of that sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. A lot of people working from home, sometimes they don't have the knowledge, and obviously the engineers supporting these networks, it needs to have these kind of tools, and obviously doing remotely. So yes, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
And one more thought on that. We actually fixed a problem for one of our employees. He's our development operations or DevOps guy, Rich. His Zoom calls were just terrible all the time. Oh, it's awful, so bad. So we got him set up with Signify, and it's kind of like Insider except remote. Like it just sends you Wi-Fi scan data back is one of the big things it does. And we saw his signal strength was bad. He was at like negative 75 dBm in his home office. No duh, like that's the problem. Like, you know, he had bad signal strength. So we got him one of those mesh home systems and problem solved, like totally fixed it. So yeah, good job, Signify. You totally fixed it.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Well, actually, we know that you have participated in several projects related to Wi-Fi. Could you please talk about some of the most relevant for you and how long you have been collaborating with Metageek?
Yeah, so I've been with Metageek since late 2012. So, you know, of course, like I said earlier, I left Metageek for a little while and went and did air quotes market research, you know, and worked with some other companies, and it was a lot of fun before coming back. So I've been around for 10 years now, although really I've only been working for Metageek for 7 years. So it's kind of funny when you look at how the time actually works. But as far as large projects go, you know, a lot of people start doing like route switch networking, like they're wired networking guys, and then they kind of move into Wi-Fi, and they steadily become more skilled and more knowledgeable on Wi-Fi before ultimately kind of arriving at being a Wi-Fi expert. I came into it very differently. I mean, I started out at Metageek as a tech support guy, looking at a lot of spectrum analysis recordings, looking at packet captures, helping, you know, trying to help people fix problems with our tools. And so ultimately I had to learn it, and I enjoyed it. I immediately fell in love with it and started taking certifications and things like that. And so as far as Wi-Fi projects go, you know, there's a lot of people out there that have designed a lot of networks. They've done a lot of direct troubleshooting of networks. That's not me. I didn't get into it like that. I ended up helping people from a distance, you know, looking at their spectrum analysis recordings and things like that. So I came into Wi-Fi through layer one, through spectrum analysis. That's how I got here. Now, as far as Wi-Fi projects go, you know, what do you call a Wi-Fi project? I've done a few network designs now. There's been a few opportunities I've had to design a network. And I've got to do that, which is a lot of fun and good for keeping my skills sharp and sharpening skills. But a lot of the other Wi-Fi projects that I've been involved in weren't kind of your typical network design project. It was more of, hey, Joel, we need to build a new packet analyzer, or we need to build this feature. What do wireless network engineers need to use a tool like this for? So I'm spending a lot of time talking to people, digging around in packet captures, getting example packet captures, and building our tools to, to show what's going on in those captures. And so it's a little bit different than I think most people in the wireless networking world get into it, but that's kind of how I got here.
Yes, it is very interesting because you talked about a very important topic. You mentioned something like majority of the networking, well, the Wi-Fi networking guys started with wired networks, so troubleshooting wired networks. And sometimes people think that it is the same, but it is not the same. The Wi-Fi world is very different. So it brings me to the other question. What is your opinion about certifications like CWNA? Are those necessary to really take advantage of Metageek tools or other Wi-Fi troubleshooting tools? Because it is very important topic.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. Like I think that having some certifications is a really, really good idea. Well, let's just think about just Wi-Fi in general, like not specifically Metageek tools, but even just Wi-Fi in general. The CWNA is such a good introduction to all things Wi-Fi. I don't know about you, but I have David Coleman and David Westcott's CWNA study guide almost within arm's reach at all times. It's like, it's just on my shelf here, just out of reach. And I refer to that constantly. Do you do that? Do you look back at the CWNA?
Same.
Isn't it great? Yeah.
It's great.
I like to think of it as my Wi-Fi Bible. I refer back to it all the time, or I forget, oh, what was this thing? And I go back and I look at it in the CWNA study guide. So yes, CWNA is excellent. Now, onto your question about Metageek tools specifically. I do think that certifications are really important. The nature of like Channelizer and a WiSpy is it's a spectrum analyzer. You really have to it throws a lot of data at you, and you have to interpret all of that data. And so I think having an understanding of how does signal strength work, what do the different channels look like, and then having a few examples of what do different types of interference look like. What does Wi-Fi on a spectrum analyzer? And Jesus, my computer, my audio cut out. Did it cut out, or is it totally?
It's good. It's good right now.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, anyway, we'll just keep going. So yeah, I think that having some certifications is a really good idea, both if you're just in Wi-Fi in general, or if you use Metageek tools. Like I said, Channelizer is all about spectrum analysis, and so that's important. IPA is all about packet analysis. Tonic, all about packet analysis. Having some fundamental understanding of what is going on, I think, is really, really important to effectively use those tools.
Exactly. Okay, so we have seen a lot of changes in the industry. Several companies have acquired other brands to complement their product offer, and obviously Wi-Fi products are not the exception. Very recently, Metageek announced the acquisition by Albic. What exactly this movement will bring for the customers?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that we've been spending a lot of time thinking about over the past few weeks, over the past few months. And so the first thing that I would take note of is that the Metageek acquisition by Avic, being that Ryan, being the founder and owner of Metageek, he really looked hard for a good company that was a good fit to buy Metageek. He didn't want to just sell to a company and have Metageek just kind of get picked apart. He wanted to find a company that had the same vision, the same goals. The company culture similarities are shocking. I mean, it's amazing how close the company culture is between Metageek and Avic. I've been really, really impressed with them. Even the same tools, like there's a lot of internal tools that we use. Of course, we use, like Slack, we use Confluence, we use all these different tools. Avic uses the exact same tool set, exact same set of tools. And so that's Ryan made a comment on Twitter a few days ago about how he thinks you might be able to tell a company if a company culture is similar to your company culture if there's a bunch of overlap in the tools that you use. And of course, like, we're a tool maker, we love tools, so we're excited about that. So as far as what's kind of going on with the Avic acquisition, we're really excited about it. We think it's a great fit. We have a lot of thinking to do about, kind of what integration is going to look like. We have a lot to think about, what we're going to bring to the Avic platform, and Avic is really excited about the Metageek tool set, and they're very, very interested in continuing to invest in the tools that we already make, and all of that. So we haven't quite got all the details worked out yet, because they made a very specific decision to wait to make decisions until after we joined the company officially, and we could all get in the same room and really start to talk about what the future of everything looks like. So, I mean, that just makes it very, very clear to me that Avic is deeply invested in the Metageek products and the Metageek customers, and supporting them, and just joining forces and continuing to do great work together.
Okay, well, I know that Avic, it's a network management and monitoring system. So could you please explain us how these two platforms will be integrated? Obviously, you has just told me that you don't have a clear view, but anything you can tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, while we don't have a clear view of exactly what it's going to look like yet, Avic bought us for a reason. They bought Metageek for a reason, right? And so we do kind of have some long-term visions of what things are going to look like, that we're all pretty excited about. So yeah, like you said, Avic makes a network management a network management system. It's really, really slick. It looks cool. It's fast to set up. I've heard multiple people, in our circle, in our wireless networking work engineering circle, say like, oh yeah, I've used Avik and it's really great. Or I've heard other people say that it sets up insanely quickly. I have not dug into it myself yet. Been really busy with the Metageek side of things, so I haven't super dug into it yet. But one thing that I know that Avik is really excited about, that we're really excited about, is to bring some Metageek Wi-Fi expertise into the Avik product. So, right now they do routers and switches, and they do have integration with access points and controllers right now, but they're really, really interested in saying, okay, what kind of data can we get to bring into the Avik NMS network management system? What can we bring in from a Wi-Fi perspective? What problems can we solve on the Wi-Fi side with some of the great Metageek innovations, like, IPA's multi-layer packet analysis, multi-layer pie charts in packet analysis, Metageek spectrum analysis, Signify's remote agent. There's a lot of interesting ideas there for how we can integrate Signify and Signify's remote monitoring abilities into the Avik platform. So yeah, nothing is set in stone yet. We haven't figured out exactly what it's going to look like, but we're all thinking about it together. And I'm really, really excited to see where it goes. But I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of great integration into the Avik platform.
Yes, I think everyone is looking forward to see what happens with this.
Yeah.
And what happens with all users and their existing licenses for Metageek tools, or some people use API, channelizer, etc. So what happens with these existing users?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. And there's a couple of different layers to the answer to that question. So as far as the Avik acquisition goes, no changes at all. Everything keeps going as it is today. We have no changes planned for how license keys work, how accounts work. In fact, we just released Tonic 1.1 yesterday. So new release of Tonic that we put a lot of work into. So that just came out yesterday. So we're going to keep developing Channelizer. We're going to keep developing IPA. I'm probably going to be pushing the hardest on Tonic, since I think it kind of takes the best of Channelizer and the best of IPA and puts them into one kind of super tool, basically. So from that perspective, license keys and things, they don't change at all. You can keep using them. Now, the other piece of this, though, there's an additional piece of this, which is Metageek Enterprise Suite. And we had actually announced and released Metageek Enterprise Suite a couple of weeks before the Avik acquisition occurred. So maybe it's a little more than a couple of weeks. I don't remember. It's been really, really busy. You know how it goes. But,
yes, I know.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy, but it's all good. So Metageek Enterprise Suite is different from our existing perpetual licenses. With Channelizer and IPA, you would just, pay for a license key, and the license key would just, is perpetual. You could use it for forever, right? One thing that we did do, though, is we had our Medicare system, where when you bought Channelizer or IPA, you got a year of updates and support for free. Then after that, it was $100 a year to continue to extend your support and maintenance for that product. So as of basically now, we've switched over to Metageek Enterprise Suite, which is basically a bundle of Channelizer, IPA, and Tonic all together. And it's a single year subscription. So you pay X amount of money, you get a year subscription to it. When the subscription runs out, the software just stops working and you just get another year subscription. One of the reasons why we did, there's several reasons why we did that. One of them is that the old Medicare system was pretty confusing. It was difficult to understand, okay, what happens when maintenance runs out? Can I wait a couple of years and then buy maintenance? There's all these things like that. It was complicated. It was confusing. The second reason why it made sense to go to this single subscription model is, since Tonic borrows some things from Channelizer and it borrows some things from IPA, but it also relies on Channelizer and IPA. Like, Tonic is great for fast, quick, surface level spectrum analysis and surface level packet analysis. But like right now in Tonic, you can use Tonic to do the packet capture and capture all the packets and see what's going on live. and then you can send it over to IPA with 1 click or 2 clicks, and IPA will open it up. So they're all kind of dependent on each other. So that's the second reason why we decided to introduce Metageek Enterprise Suite and just bundle them all together. And now you just get all 3 of the Metageek tools. It's kind of like Adobe Suite, something like that. It's sort of like that. So then the question, the second part of your question was, what happens with old users and their existing licenses to Metageek tools? If you bought Channelizer, it's yours. You can keep it. You can use it for forever. We're probably going to sunset the Medicare program in a year or two, something like that. We'll probably stop offering Medicare extensions, but we're also offering discounts to basically trade in your perpetual license key for a discount off of your first year of Metageek Enterprise Suite, to make it really, really easy to just make that transition to migrate over to Metageek Enterprise Suite. So short version, short answer, that was the long answer, but the short one is, what happens with the old users and licenses? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Everything continues to work. So Channelizer, it's going to keep going. IPA, it's going to keep going. If you are an IPA user, though, please go over to our website and download Tonic. You can use it for 14 days. I'm super proud of it. I think it takes the concept of IPA to the next level. And I think that you will enjoy using Tonic and IPA next to each other. And so I hope everybody can go check that out, because I just love it. I love it.
Yes, that recommendation is awesome, because I have been using all your tools, and they are very interesting, very intuitive. So yes, please go to the website and download this awesome tool. And obviously, as Wi-Fi engineers, we love tools. Sometimes you start with some free version of whatever, or free freeware or whatever, but you love all these tools. And obviously, in this Wi-Fi world, which tools do you think are essential for engineers dedicated to solve these kind of Wi-Fi problems?
That's a great question. So my answer to the previous question was very salesy. It was all about Metageek stuff. I'm going to try to back away from that a little bit and talk about, more like other tools that are out there. And it's because there's so many good tools. I mean, I think you have to look past just Metageek to get all the great tools. First off, a Wi-Fi scanner. A Wi-Fi scanner is so useful to have. It's usually what you have with you. Usually if you have a Wi-Fi scanner on an Android phone or on your MacBook or on your Windows machine. So there's lots of great ones out there. Of course, Metageek makes Insider, but if you're over on Mac, I can't recommend Wi-Fi Explorer Pro enough. It's an excellent tool. There's some great ones on Android as well. Wi-Fi scanner is great to have. Another one that I think is good to have, I am not going to say that this is essential anymore, but I think it's good to have, is a spectrum analyzer. Channelizer and a Wi-Spy, I think, is a great idea. Maybe you have an Ekahau and a Sidekick. That's great as well, of course. So having a spectrum analyzer, I think, is really good. I don't think it's quite as important as it used to be. I think it used to be like you had to have it. Now, I think it's a good to have. And I think it's also good to spend some time with one, because it really helps you understand what is going on. So even if you can't carry it with you every day, try to spend some time with one at least and get to know a spectrum analyzer. So next, I would say a packet capture tool is so important. The ability to capture packets and see what's going on from a packet perspective, you are going to need that at some point. If you're on a Mac and you have a MacBook, then just go grab AirTool by Intuitive Bits and you're good to go. And if you're on Windows, of course, I'm going to recommend my tool, which is Tonic. I think Tonic makes packet capture. I think it's just completely going to change how we do packet capture. It's a completely unique way of doing it, because it shows you what you're capturing while you're capturing it. Go check out Tonic. It works with cheap Wi-Fi adapters. You can just grab off-the-shelf Wi-Fi adapters. Jesus, I'm sure that you'd be happy to sell people Wi-Fi adapters too. But I think it's really important to have. Next is a site survey or network design tool of some kind, especially a network design tool. So, typically I try to only use the term site survey when I'm talking about, putting a map or an image of a map into a piece of software and then walking around and taking measurements that go on a map. That's what I call a site survey. That's important to have. And then a design tool, usually they're the same tool. In almost all cases, it's the same tool, but something that you can draw in walls and you can place access points and move them around. Absolutely critical. So I have a few favorite other tools too. Like I love my WLAN Pi. It's just a little Swiss Army knife of various tools that I love having available just in my backpack all the time. I have an old Fluke AirCheck, an old Fluke AirCheck G1. I love that thing. I love it. If I go on site somewhere, I carry that thing with me. Like, what's a Metageek guy doing with a Fluke product, that eventually became a NetAlly product? Like, that's messed up. Like, that's wrong. That's not supposed to happen, but no, I don't care. I love my AirCheck. It's awesome. So there is a lot of overlap between some of the tools that I mentioned, like a good spectrum analyzer also has a Wi-Fi scanner built in, and an AirCheck is also kind of a Wi-Fi scanner. And Tonic is like a strange mix of Wi-Fi scanner and packet capture and packet analysis and spectrum. So it's there's a lot of overlap between the tools, but get your hands on some of them, use them, get on Twitter and find out what everybody's favorite tools are. You're going to have so much fun. That's the best part of being a Wi-Fi network engineer is the tools. I love it.
Yes, like you said, you have to have your Swiss Army Wi-Fi tool in order to solve problems. Yep. And yeah. Any advances related to 6 gigahertz tools or?
Oh yeah. 6 gigahertz. That's the thing that's on everybody's mind right now. Yeah, that's a great question. I personally feel a little behind the curve on this. I don't feel like we're quite where we need to be right now. So we've got a lot of work to do, but that also means that there's a lot of fun work for me to do to get things ready. So I'll just lay it all out for you. On the spectrum analysis side of things, I don't have any announcements to make today. No announcements to make right now, but hang in there. I can neither confirm nor deny that we will have some, that there are announcements for 6 gigahertz spectrum analysis coming. On the packet capture and packet analysis side, we don't support 6 gigahertz yet. I want to move on that soon, although one constraint that we have is in the capture hardware. We don't have a USB packet capture adapter available to us yet to do live capture. Tonic being a packet capture tool, it's all about live capture. It's very, very live capture centric. So we need to get some kind of 6 gigahertz USB adapter, or connecting to a WLAN Pi Pro is a possibility. It's something that we're very, very interested in looking at. We haven't made any firm decisions on that yet, but we're very interested in it. That could get us 6 gigahertz packets. Although the even more challenging side of it is we need to get our packet capture and packet analysis engine all updated to be able to support 6 gigahertz frames. We haven't got there yet, but that is very, very near on the roadmap, something we want to pursue very, very soon. On the Wi-Fi scanning side, I think we're fairly close on that. We're not actively working on it quite yet. We're knocking out a bunch of other tasks in Tonic and IPA and Channelizer first. But I think getting our Wi-Fi scanning, like with Insider and potentially Channelizer, up to 6 gigahertz support, I don't think is going to be that big of a technical leap. I think we're going to be able to get to that one fairly quickly. So yeah, no promises for when or anything like that, but we've definitely got some work to do there. And I think all the other tools vendors are probably in a very similar situation that we are, where everybody recognizes that, hey, this is important. 6 gigahertz is here now, and we need to have some tools for it. So there's a lot of really, really fun work for me to do coming up here over the next few months that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic, and obviously we know that 6 gigahertz is released in some regions, in some other regions not yet. Obviously, for example, in Mexico and other countries of Latam, they are still working. Well, the regulation, organizations are working on that. So you are on time to release your tools for supporting 6 gigahertz. But yes, this is a very interesting topic, and there are other topics very interesting in the Wi-Fi world. We really appreciate you accept this invitation. Many thanks, Joel, for being with us, and I hope to have another opportunity to talk about more and different topics. And so thank you so much.
Thanks, Jesus. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to talking again really soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Bye.